So let's go ahead and get started.
Yeah.
Thanks everyone for joining us today. I'm so excited to have Yogi Cameron join us live on meditation.com. My name is Sura. I am a meditation coach and trainer, and Yogi Cameron is an Ayurvedic practitioner. He's a yoga teacher and also the author of the Yogi Code, 7 universal, what is it? Seven
universal laws of infinite success.
Yes, laws of infinite success, which I did read before.
Oh, good.
Going on. I just couldn't remember that subtitle. So thank you. And I have to tell you, Yogi Cameron, I really enjoyed reading your book.
Lovely.
And something that surprised me was your personal story. And I guess when people see you on shows like Ellen and Dr. Oz, perhaps they assume, since you came from the high fashion industry, that this was an easy, done-for-you path, that things were just laid out for you, but that really wasn't the case. So I'm hoping you could share a little bit about your personal story and how you went from high fashion supermodeling to living in small villages in India, and just that process that happened for you when you decided to step on this path.
Well, I was born in Iran, and to an English mother and a Persian father, and we had a real normal life up to about 10 years old, and then we had a revolution in Iran. So my life was pretty perfect up to about 10. Or let's say not perfect, but it was a regular life. And then when the revolution started, I sort of got separated from my parents, and I was put in boarding school in England. And then I didn't see my dad for 4 years, and I would sporadically see my mom for a little bit. But it quickly showed me that the world that you live in is not dependable. So as much as people want to be there, as people love you or they care for you or whatever, they still can't be there. So what happens is that I went through this, almost in my head, I was going through this transformation of, you've got to be taking care of yourself. So then boarding school, I did pretty okay. I started to learn how to spell and read English when I was about 11, 12. So it's kind of ironic I write books because I'm a terrible speller. Yeah. Sometimes I joke with my mom. I'm like, hey, not bad for a guy who couldn't spell.
Well, that's what spell check is for, right?
Thank God for spell check. Oh my God. When the computer came and I first started typing on a computer, I was like, oh, this is amazing. Somebody's correcting me. Otherwise, you're reading a completely different book.
Well, it's really well written, so, you know.
Oh, good. Thank you.
There's a flow to it, definitely.
Yeah. So then I went to boarding school. I went to sports school, and it's very common for somebody who's not great at school to become good at sports. So I was sort of that guy. And then I decided at some point I didn't want to be a sports guy either. And somebody stopped me in the street in London, and they said, hey, you want to be a model, and I think you can make a living out of this. So I had absolutely nothing else going on, so it was perfect timing. And pretty much 2, 3, 4 weeks later, I found myself on the catwalks of Paris, in spandex and high heels and all kinds of stuff, which was great. And I was like, yes, this is how people are living. It's great.
You must be really comfortable in your sexuality to be wearing high heels.
Yeah, first show ever.
Oh.
Full-on spandex and 6-7 inch heels and full-on makeup. It was like a Jean-Paul Gaultier is a very well-known French designer, and he's known for very luxury-orientated and avant-garde shows. And he was kind of the one I always be doing because he put on a show. And yeah, I just felt so comfortable. I was like, this is great. And the fashion community, a big portion of it is the gay community. They have a lot of style and stuff. So you get comfortable with race and people and sexuality. And I think from, I don't know, other businesses or other worlds, but the fashion industry kind of embraces absolutely everything that's it's almost like the same as spirituality, accept everybody. Unity is everything. Be one with everybody. And
that's really interesting.
Yeah.
So that really set you up for that.
Yeah, so I had this kind of training in a way through that world of just total acceptance of all people. And then when you came in the spiritual world, it's total acceptance of all people. So they actually, on one level, are very similar in that sense. And so I went through this for 12 years. I worked with Madonna, Elton John, Guess Jeans. I did all this work, and I sort of became a part of the supermodel movement. And then I had a mentor at the same time. He was guiding me along my path. And at some point, I went to Nelson Mandela's home in 1998, I think. And he was a guy who was in jail for 27 years. And he looked so peaceful. He looked so, he looked like a really
He's radiant.
Guy. Radiant, yes.
It's a radiant being, yeah.
And I thought, here's a guy you could learn something from. And it was sort of the end of my career, and I wanted to look for something new to do and expand my horizons, kind of, so to speak. But I wasn't trained in anything. So I left the fashion business not knowing what I'm going to do, and I kind of got lost for about 3 years trying 2 or 3 different things. And then I'd already been doing yoga for about 10 years in Paris and New York, and not as a daily practice, but I'd been, kind of playing with it. So I trained to become a yoga teacher. And then I realized I don't really want to teach yoga either. And I'd known about Ayurveda, and so I read this book by Dr. David Frawley, and I thought, I want to go to India and study Ayurvedic medicine. Because he had already also said that Ayurveda and yoga can't be separated. They are a sister science, one of the body, one of the mind, and together they're a spiritual practice.
How was that for you, going from high fashion luxury to now in India, probably with much less stuff?
Yes, a lot less clothes.
Yeah. Even energetically, right? Like less things to carry with you.
Yeah.
What was it for you, though? What was going through your mind and your heart at that time?
Fashion business kind of gave me everything I needed or I wanted. It was kind of giving me, every door was open, could speak different languages, travel the world, get paid well. Everybody, loves you, kind of thing. And you're a symbol of beauty. But you're a symbol of outer beauty, really. And in a funny way, as fashion and spirituality are acceptance and unity, I was already trained in that way to go to India and accept everything. And I was really ready. I think after that time I met Mandela and something sort of struck a chord. I was really ready for India. And something is in me from birth. In Ayurveda, we say there's a prakruti, or a particular nature to everybody that lends itself to certain work, to certain relationship, all those kind of things. It's like everything is already there. You just have to find it.
Tap into it.
Exactly. So the river is running.
Do you help people do that?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Because part of it is, all the paths are already laid out. It's just which one is for you. All the relationships are laid out, but which one's for you? So it's just helping people get there.
And you were saying that it was quite a difficult path when you started to choose the yogic path. You went through some hardship. I'm wondering if you could talk about that a little more so that people understand what you went through.
What you mean when I went to India?
Well, you talked about the difficulties when you were in New York City after that.
Yeah. Well, because you leave a world like the fashion business, you suddenly realize everybody loves you while you're in it, but not everybody loves you when you're out of it. Not that they dislike you, but you're just not a part of that world anymore. So I suddenly went from a total knowing everybody to not really knowing anybody. That was a weird situation, because it's like your phone doesn't stop ringing, and then one day it stops ringing, and that was sort of the situation I was going through. And then it was also getting used to the fact that, what am I going to do with my life now? I have no idea what I'm going to do. I knew the fashion world was over for me, but I didn't know what was in store for me. So I was kind of a little bit in between, lost, trying to find my way. And it wasn't until my mentor, he passed away in the year 2000, but it wasn't until he kind of was directing me inwards and saying, you have the answers, you just got to be patient. You've got to complete some karma. You've got to go through some moments of distress, simply because you've actually had it quite easy in the fashion world for 12 years. And now it's your time to suffer a little bit. So I was like...
It's the yin and the yang, the balance of life, right? At play. But yeah. I mean, it's interesting to hear that, because so many people are going through transition right now. Yes. A lot of people, that mainstream world isn't really working for them, and they know that they want to do something that's more meaningful and purposeful and live differently. So...
Oh yeah, you know this through your work as well. I mean, people right now are yearning and saying this way of living doesn't work. It doesn't work for anybody, because the suffering that people are going through is because we're trying to blend in with all this machinery and all this technology and all this artificial way of living, and we are organic. So the spirits want to connect to each other, and a lot of our suffering is about that. So getting together more, building communities, like what we do. We build even online communities, and then we get together in person as well, because we need to strike that balance of, yes, we can do this, but we also need to be together in person as well, like being outdoors with the trees and the animals and the air and all that. So
yes, are you finding a lot of people that you work with, are they struggling and stressed out right now? Because it seems like the anxiety level, especially in the United States, is increasing.
Yes. Oh, yeah. I think that's the number one thing, is people are stressing out, anxious. I mean, I deal with Ayurvedic medicine, so I see more and more people on medication, trying to just take the edge off of this anxiety, because we're not just going through global warming, we're going through personal warming. There's a huge thing happening where people's heat level is just rising and rising, and this body's organic, so you can only take a certain amount of heat before you kind of get upset and you get irrational.
Can you talk a little bit more about that heat and what that heat, where it's coming from?
So the elements that we deal with in Ayurveda are Vata, Pitta, and Kapha, which means there's fire, there's earth, and there's air. And these interact together. And what's happening is, when one element becomes too high, then it disturbs the other elements below it. And when fire element gets too high, it starts to burn. You feel burning inside. So over the weekend, I had one lady was asking me about menopause and the heat in the body. And I was explaining to her, I said, well, it's much more about, it's not just about herbology, it's about your lifestyle. Because when I'm in the village in India, nobody has menopause. Nobody has cramps from menstrual pain and things like this. And it just shows because they don't have stress. They don't have any stress. They just go milk the cow, go home, cook food, go to the temple. So they have absolutely no stress to deal with. So once these elements start to move in us, we start to get agitated. Or if you have too much earth element, you start to put on a lot of weight, you start to become heavier and heavier. If you put your air element starts to rise, and you kind of run around, rushing around, trying to achieve too much, and you kind of burn out as well. Not in a heat way, but you burn out just out of getting so nervous.
Yes, and you do touch upon this in your book as well, the Yogi Code. And I was wondering if you could share some of those 7 universal laws of infinite success. You got it. If you could share some of those laws with us and kind of run us through that, and perhaps even share an exercise that we could all practice together online as a community.
Sure. Yeah. Well, the 7 codes here are routine is the first code, because everything you do from the moment you wake up till you go to bed is a routine. Now, is this routine working for you? If it's not, then we have to look at this routine. And the DNA of that routine is habits. So many, many habits make a routine. So I help people in the book to start to identify what's working, what's not working, what needs a shift, what needs an adjustment, what needs a change, because not all habits need to be changed. They just need an adjustment, maybe. So this is the backbone of who you are. This is how you're living. Once you have some of that in place,
right. A lot of people have resistance to routine and they don't know how to get into it. So do you help them online to start to find a flow with that?
Yes, because everybody needs a routine. Everybody has a routine, whether they want to admit it or not. Maybe it's a haphazard routine, maybe it's an overwhelming routine, but something's happening during the day, and we call that your routine. Now, the number one problem here is when you have way too much freedom, or you've packed your routine in so tightly that you have no time for freedom. So you've excessively too much freedom or no freedom. And this pendulum wobbles the pendulum too much to one side or the other, where you either get overwhelmed with no time or no freedom, or you're underwhelmed with too much freedom, and then you're bored. And of course, when you're bored, you go eat too much, you hang out too much, you get into trouble. So
it's almost like you need the right amount of creative tension.
Yes, exactly.
To allow the energy to flow.
Yeah, and you got to know yourself a little bit. So that's where in the next few chapters I go into knowing yourself. But once we got your routine a little bit in a place, then we can move into spiritual practice. And that's the next code. It's building that foundation, because even the yogis from 10, 12,000 years ago, they said there is really no other way to build a foundation in these times, in these treacherous times, than your spiritual practice. That means doing some asana, doing some pranayama, doing some sense control, and getting your foundation down with meditation and things every day.
Yes, and for people that maybe aren't familiar with yoga, that's the movement and the breathing exercises that you start with every day.
Yes, open the body, get your breathing under your control, then you control the senses, then you start to sit down, be quiet, calm down, do some meditation, do some chanting. All of this sets a certain vibration that now you take this vibration into your day, and all the challenges that come, all that anxiety that comes, everything that comes, you know how to deal with it. So it's not just doing your practice in the morning, it's actually taking that energy and then shifting it into the world and making it an actionable practice rather than a passive practice.
Yes, you're really taking that from your routine into everyday life. And one thing I don't know if people realize is that the purpose of yoga is to set yourself up for meditation. And that meditation is part of a yogic practice. And today in many yoga classes, we might not have that opportunity, but that's the case. And why is that important that people do those practices before meditation?
Well, if you're sitting with a stiff body, then you're going to have pain. You're not going to be able to move. That's the first aspect of it, flexibility. And then you have 72,000 channels in your body. They need to be opened and cleared. And the biggest ones flow through the nostrils and through the central canal in the spine. These are the places of chakras as well. So everything needs a good cleansing. It's like when you put fresh clothes on, you just feel good already. You've taken a shower, fresh clothes, you've cleansed on the outside. Same thing on the inside. We need to cleanse But we don't just need to cleanse by taking a juice or something. We need to do some postures to twist the body up and down, squeeze it, and then it cleanses those channels. Then we're ready to sit down and breathe, control the breathing, and all the higher practices. I mean, the lower practices are the asana practice, the movement, but they do play a role in the higher practices.
Yes, definitely.
Aloha, Jerry.
Oh, yes, we'd love to say hello to some people that have joined us.
Yeah, lots of people.
Oh, my goodness. It's so wonderful to hear from Andrew. Oh, we need headphones. Is there a problem with the sound? I hope not.
I think that was before when I had my headphones on.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I think we solved that problem.
Yes, it's so great to see people online. We are going to answer your questions live, so thank you for joining us. And Yogi Cameron is going to also offer some free gifts at the end, which is wonderful. So shall we go through, would you like to talk more about the book, or shall we try an exercise now?
Let's do an exercise, and then we can go through some of the more. We've only been through 2 of the codes, but in this chapter of practice, there's 5 different practices that you do to control the breath, control your senses, control and open up the chakras through mantra. And then we come lastly to a heart chakra meditation, because the world we live in is pretty harsh. So we tend to come back to the heart, because the heart is the seat of the soul, is the heart of the spirit. So we want to always work out of this area, because it's compassionate, it's kind, it's giving, it's nurturing, it's all those things that we need in these particular times. Higher consciousness is great. We can get there eventually. But in these sort of times, we need much more heartfelt connections. So there is the last practice that I do in there, which is Dharana, Anahata Dharana, which is hello from North Wales. Great. I went to school in Wales. Yeah. So for this practice, we'll sit up tall and we'll close the eyes and just check your breathing, your inhaling, exhaling, and just making the rhythm of the breath very slow, very rhythmic, and calming down the mind a little bit. Then you're going to bring all your attention to the third eye between the eyebrows. And from here, you're going to bring your attention to the throat. And you're going to come down and bring all your attention to the heart area. And breathe here for a moment. So breathing is slow. All your attention is in the heart area. Now you're going to repeat the mantra YAM. It's Y-A-M, but with the A being silent. So you repeat YAM, YAM. You can repeat that silently inside. So you're breathing, focusing on the heart area, and repeating the mantra YAM, YAM, YAM. And just keep repeating the mantra just for a moment. Just breathing in and out. All your attention is in the heart. This is a heart mantra. So inhaling calmly, exhaling calmly, and repeating YAM, YAM, YAM. Yum. 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 Just keep your attention in the heart area for a moment. Your mind is focused. If you keep losing focus, you can always bring your hand to the heart as well. Just breathing, focusing in the heart, repeating yum, yum, yum. Now you can stop repeating your mantra. Just become aware of what the heart is saying. How does the heart feel? Maybe it has a message for you. Maybe it's saying something to you. Heart is the seat of intuition. Anytime you stop and you focus on it, it helps you to calm the mind and act out of your intuition. You can bring your hands in prayer position in front of the heart, bow your head. And you can come out of the posture. Now it's difficult to talk. So that is part of the 5 practices to get people to come control everything, because we don't have control of the outer world, but we do have control of our self. And we, as yogis, we bring all of the control here. So no matter what's going on in the world, we're not concerned with it. We control this. Because if I control this, and you control this, and the other person controls this, now we have a bunch of control people and not out of control people.
Right. I mean, I really felt such an amazing energy as you were guiding that practice, and just tingles and, you know, on top of my head, and, you know, feeling that real sense of peace in my heart. And
yeah.
do you think you could share a little bit about that practice of being guided and how that helps enhance a personal practice for individuals?
Well, anytime
we're all kind of tapped in together, so I think we all just raised a bunch of energy together, just being online together.
Yes, yeah. Well, anytime you go from the mind to the heart, you're elevating. Simply because the mind is of a certain nature that it follows everything. So the mind is like the little kid who wants to touch everything, wants to feel everything. It runs around because the senses, you know, make it run around. So anytime you come down here and you sit here, everything starts to seem different, right?
It really does.
Yeah, the first 3 chakras are where our sort of animalistic nature comes from. It's sleep, procreation, food, all of those things come out of our first 3 chakras. And the world that we created outwardly comes from those 3 chakras. That's why it's so heavy. That's why we build high-rises. They're all made from metal and glass and heavy things. That's why we have bombs. That's why we have money. Everything that's dense.
Right, it's real survival. And just for people that don't know what a chakra is, can you just briefly explain chakra and why it's important to have that open and flowing?
Yeah, so we have 180 main energy points in the body, and the 7 best known of them are called chakras, and they run along the spine from where you're sitting all the way to the top of the head. We do have chakras that go beyond the head, and we have chakras that go below where we're sitting. But the main ones we deal with are these 7. And each time we rise in energy through these chakras, we elevate higher and higher and higher. That's why if we can surpass the chakra Manipur in the navel area, which is all to do with our sort of desire level, and we can move it up to the heart, now we can be of service. Now we can share. Now we can put all aside, all that mind stuff. Because we're all in this kind of mind stuff area of the senses, trying to fulfill our desires. And
Right.
soon as we go into the heart, then we're much more concerned about others than we are about ourselves. Yeah. So that's where, this is the neighborhood we want to hang out in. This is a good neighborhood.
Yes, absolutely. And just to be mindful of time, would you like to move briefly through some of the other codes, and then we'll have some time as well to answer people's questions?
Yes, yeah. So we went from routine, we got to spiritual practice. Now those two things are in order. We can jump to knowing ourselves. So the third code is, do you know who you are and what you're about? Because as soon as you do know who you are, you leave behind all those things you picked up over these years because you didn't know who you were. Once you know yourself, then you move into setting intentions. You can't set full intentions if you don't know yourself, because you'll be setting intentions that are not correct for you. That's why the step before is knowing yourself. Once you start to set these intentions, then you start to move to the next code, which is purpose. And purpose can't really be reached unless we set specific intention. And those intentions have to be very specific because they move us in direction. And once we move in that direction, like my world is in the spiritual world, in the health world, you know, everything I do is in that world. So I made an intention to move into this world. So I don't move into other worlds. So that's my intention. My intention led me to my purpose, which is the next code. And once you start to understand what your purpose is and your greater purpose of being here, then the next code after that is service. You can start to be of service to yourself, to other people, to the ecosystem, and be more eco-friendly in your behavior. So suddenly you're becoming of service, which means the attention isn't on you so much, it's on the world and everything else. And naturally that goes into the last and seventh universal law, which is love. And love is something you can experience. You can talk about it, you can describe it, but that doesn't give you the experience. So love really comes from the experience, from setting all these codes in motion where you arrive in it. Kind of like meditation. You do all this work and then you naturally arrive in meditation. Love is exactly the same way. You don't need to try to be in love, fall in love, or, you know, get it. You just need to be much more selfless. Know your purpose, know your intentions, know yourself, do your spiritual practice and have a beautiful routine, and there you'll find yourself in love. So that's the yogi.
Oh, that's so beautiful. And yes, and through all of these practices, do you feel that that will help bring balance to body and mind? And that's really what's one of the side benefits?
Yeah, body, mind, spirit is where we always want to be at. I didn't make these codes. These are yogic codes from the Vedas. The Vedas are the oldest spiritual books that now scientists are saying are about 12,000 years old. They have all this knowledge within them. I just extracted this code, because in our times, harsh times that we're going through, this is the codes that we need. So maybe in another era, we won't need it. But at this moment in time, and for the foreseeable future, we need much more kindness and compassion and understanding. And this is much more useful to us than trying to reach higher levels of consciousness, because the mind already is interacting with each other every day. So if we can just reach those pinnacles of compassion, then we're already in a good place.
So beautiful. Thank you so much for explaining the yogi codes.
Yes.
And let's now answer some questions, and at the end, we'd love to offer some free gifts for people to the community. So let's,
Willem,
apologize. I'm going to have to scroll way down. And let's say hi to people that have reached out. I know you can see this too, Yogi Cameron.
Yeah.
So, Wilma, it's so lovely to see you. And
we love you too, Wilma.
We do. We love you. And please ask us some of your questions now. What would you like to ask Yogi Cameron? Anything pertaining to the Yogi Code, lifestyle, practice. What are your questions? Don't be shy. Oh, I did get a note here to put on some headphones. So I'm going to go ahead and make you a big screen, Yogi Cameron, while I try to find some earbuds really quickly. I do have a question here, and it's from Callahan. She asks, what is a yogi?
Yogi. Yogi is a person who is living one of the yogic paths. So there's different yogic paths set out. There's the path of jnana, which is intellect. There's the path of karma, which is selfless service. There's the path of bhakti, which is devotion. So yogi is usually following one of these paths and trying to reach enlightenment. So that's the basic. But then in between, we're living regular lives like everybody else. And there's different levels of yogis. So yogis who live in an ashram, for example, are not living the day-to-day life. They're much more, they're like renounced life. And then you have yogis like me who are in life, Western life, and living like you are, but we live with certain codes. And part of them are in the yogi code, and then part of them are rituals that we do. We follow many other yogic books that we also need to follow because we need to be governed, and rules that we need to follow have already been set out thousands of years ago. So we follow the books of knowledge.
Thank you. And are you still able to hear me all right?
Yeah.
Okay, great. We have some questions here. Nicola asks, what gives rise to living in a constant state of anxiousness?
Well, anxiety comes from the mind, right? So everything that you think about either gives you peace or gives you anxiety. So if you it's a very simple concept. It's here. It's all in the brain. It's all in the mind. What makes anxiety worse is usually our lifestyle. The things we look at, the things we talk about. So for instance, if we talk about fearful things more and more, that leads to more and more anxiety. So as yogis, what we do is we watch, we edit everything we do. We don't watch certain programming that's violent, that rises anxiety. We don't speak to people, or we don't speak about certain things that rise anxiety. We don't touch foods which rise the heat in the body too much, because that makes for more anxiety. So
that would be spicy foods, right?
Yeah, too much
aggravating foods.
Yeah. So for you, Nicola, whatever's happening in your life, it's making your anxiety worse, but it's not the cause of your anxiety. The cause of your anxiety is your mind, because it's taken on the reality of whatever's going on. So whatever your reality is in your family, in your relationship, in your past as a child, all of that is recorded in your head. That's the cause of anxiety. And then everything else is just making it worse. So in yoga, we go to the depths of the mind. That's why the third code is knowing yourself, understanding more about where you've come from. What are your trigger points? What's your nature like? And then starting to do things that calm the mind down. So I don't like fast things. So, I was in New York, a friend of mine has a fast car. Let's go for a ride. I don't want to go for a ride.
Right, because it's aggravating, right? It aggravates that dosha. And I feel like our culture is anxiousness culture these days. It's like that's the way people live, is in a constant state of busyness. And there needs to be a willingness to withdraw and to choose to live differently.
And to say no, things are moving way too fast. Everybody, I mean, if I was going that fast, I get anxious too. So here we don't want to put ourselves in a situation that life is super busy. If your life is super busy, you're not living it the way you should be.
Exactly, because that really, it jams up your vibration, right? If you're living busy and you're just constantly, it's not a conducive way for yoga and meditation to live in harmony and to live in balance. But yet we feel so pressured to live that way.
Well, you put I work with Fortune 500 people. I work with village people. It's always the person who puts their own pressure on themselves. We think it's other people, but it really isn't. If my schedule starts to get too busy, I start to get rid of stuff because I'm like, nobody's schedule should be that busy. We should have a certain amount of time for freedom, a certain amount of time for work, a certain amount of time for leisure or whatever it is, but it needs to be, pretty equal. Yeah, sometimes there's more work to do. You get it done, but that doesn't just take over. So it's about the balance.
And I think it helps to see more examples of that. When people hear that, I live my life with a sense of freedom, with space. And it gives that permission to live more that way. So thank you for that. I have a question here from Arlie, and we'll just answer one or two more questions here. Arlie asks, hello from Ireland. I want to find my purpose. I wish I know my reason in this life. Karma.
Karma, yeah. Yes. Purpose is a little elusive until you start to set intentions. Because intentions are the beginning of the journey towards purpose. So we don't really get to purpose until we understand ourselves a little bit more. This is why each code kind of weaves into the next. If I know myself pretty well, straight away I'll know what's not for me. Then I'll be left with what is for me. That means I will be able to set certain intentions. And I've set certain intentions right now for a company that I'm starting, work that I'm doing now, a project. And some things are long-term, some things are short-term. But I have a direction. So I've already set my intention, and I know what the outcome should be, and I know what the purpose is for doing it, and I continue. So for you, Arlie, you've got to know who you are, what you take to, what your nature is like, and then you start to set certain intentions that take you in a certain direction, and there you start to find your purpose. So it's a little bit of a work and steps to take, but it's a beautiful journey. You just got to stick with it.
And that's what I love about your book, is that you say that it's work and it can be hard and there are trials and tribulations. It's not about just being, like an easy life. It's, there's other things that come with it. So you're not, kind of blanketing a rose-colored view of the yogic path. You're giving the real deal of what to expect. So I appreciated that in the book.
I tend to want to put people off a little bit, because the ones who really want it will stick by it. Because there's too many books, too many people going, yeah, it's so easy, yeah, it's going to be great, it's fantastic, and I'm thinking, oh, it's going to be work, but but what else are you doing here? You think you came here to have a family, drive a car, have a bank account? That's not why you're here for. So if you're willing to know what your purpose is, it's going to take some work. But boy, when you know what your purpose is, life becomes joyful. So that's what you're being promised, great joys at the end of it. So there's some work involved.
Yes. And let's just end briefly with one last question, which I think is a really beautiful question. Do you have a favorite mantra And perhaps we can end with that from Lena. Thank you so much for asking.
Yes. Mantra is always Om. There's many mantras. So today we did the mantra Yam, but that's specifically for the heart, opening the heart and getting the heart to speak to you. So Om is the beginning of all mantras. It's the most powerful of mantras. But most people kind of overlook it because they think, oh, I saw it on a t-shirt, I've heard it, I've done it, I've done Om, And the reason it's in the book is because it's like that secret that you know about, but you haven't practiced long enough for that secret to evolve, to really show what it has within it. So Om is the secret that most people know about, but haven't done the work to make it evolve and to blossom within them. Because Om will blossom within you, and it will supercharge you. You'll see many great things will come from it. But again, you got to do some work here. It's an exchange. Yes.
Thank you so much. This was a very wonderful interview. And for those of you whose questions we did not have a chance to answer, hopefully, Yogi Cameron, you'll be able to answer them perhaps later through Facebook. And let's talk a little bit about the free gift, because Yogi Cameron has a membership called the Inner Circle.
Yes.
And it's the Yogi Cameron membership that he would like to share with the community, with 5 people from the community who are watching today. So can you talk a little bit about the membership? And I think I'm going to try to think of a question or some kind of incentive to help us choose 5 people today. So I just realized that.
Yeah, the membership was set up because I write for many different websites, and what I realized was there's so much stuff out there, and there's thousands of people writing about the same thing. How do we know what's true, what's not, and what's the best thing? So I set up a membership site particularly for spiritual seekers and people who want to live a healthy life. It's not for anybody else. So anybody looking for living optimally at their highest potential, their health, and they want to live and know about spirituality and have all the practices, I set the membership site up for that. And right now, we're offering it for 30 days, trial, and any one of your guys wants to try it. We were going to say 5 people, but why not we just open it up to your guys and let them try it, let them, because in the end, if you try it,
so much.
Yeah, that way.
That's wonderful, because I know this is a $54 product a month.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
so that's very generous of you, Yogi Cameron. Thank you.
It's all good.
Wow, that's amazing. Like, where can they go then to sign up for this for free if they're on the call right now?
Just go to ycmembership.com, and there you're going to find it. We've opened it up. So we offer at certain times, if we work with different people. So at the moment you'll find it, it's opened up for a 30-day free membership. They'll be able to go on there, and then we'll close it up again at some point.
Okay, so anybody who goes there now. And so are those a series of videos and tutorials that they're going to receive as part of that membership?
Yeah, everything to do with the book is there under the membership site. And then there's this part which is about self-healing, because I want people to be able to heal themselves naturally. So there, if your family, if anybody you know has, different ailments, you can go in that section. It gives you anything from healing with natural oils, with yoga postures, with breathing methods, with mantras. It's too much, but in the end, whatever, food, herbology, whatever you have access to, you'll be able to find there how to heal yourself naturally. At the moment, we have about 55 different ailments, and then each month we keep adding to them.
Okay, great.
Yeah,
so it's like a lifestyle guide, essentially.
Yeah, but it's very specific to health and spirituality. Because I work with Ayurveda, meditation, and yoga. So in those 3 areas, I really want people to be able to get the knowledge and then not be overwhelmed, because also once, actually this Friday is our next call. Once a month, we also jump on a call. It's called YC Talk Radio, and the members can jump on there, ask me anything. We talk about different things. We discuss different things. And this Friday happens to be the next call at 10 o'clock PS Pacific Standard Time. And then we have lots more going on there. We have a private Facebook page where we discuss things every day as well. It's building community.
Thank you so much, Yogi Cameron. And be sure to check out the Yogi Code. It's a really great book. For me personally, I was surprised at the depth of the book, but also the accessibility. It's really easy to read, and you get so much from it, and you really get these specific practices that you can apply now if you want to. So be sure to check out the book, and let's just end with an intention or perhaps a mantra. Sure. Would you like to do that, Yogi Cameron?
Sure. Yeah, so closing the eyes, sitting up tall. And no matter where you live or what's going on, just take a moment, set an intention for what you want for the rest of the day or what you want to happen tomorrow. Remember, intention needs energy behind it. You are the source of that energy. So when you set an intention, I want a better job, I want a relationship, I want to make more money, I want to serve, I want to love, whatever that intention is, it needs energy. And the energy that you put behind it is what's going to make it successful. So think about something that you really want to intend to do. It could be as big as you want, it could be as small as you want. It could be something in the short term, something in the long term. Start to just put that intention in motion right now by thinking about what it's going to take to put that in motion. How much energy is it going to take? Are you willing to stay with it? Are you willing to stay with it if it takes you 1, 2, 3 years maybe to do it? How committed are you? Good. So keep that intention. Take it into your day or your night and wake up with it tomorrow morning and really put it into practice. Because if it's important enough to you, then you're going to bring it into an action, and that action is going to materialize your intention. So you have the power to do that. It just takes some work and energy to bring it into a reality. Then you can open the eyes when you want. Yes. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. I love doing these practices together as a group. It's so powerful. Yes. And especially with a clear channel like you. Thank you so much for your time today, your generosity, your gifts of serving the world through yoga and Ayurveda. So till we talk again, hopefully we'll have you on again.
I hope so.
Yogi Cameron.
Been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Namaste, everyone.